What have you guys made of the coaching debut for your second favorite podcaster after me, Mr. JJ Redick, over with the Los Angeles Lakers?
BJ's out there. I'm gonna let BJ start on that one. He's in LA, so he watches them more. And I've watched them, and obviously I'll weigh in. But I want to hear what BJ
Well,
has.
the task at hand, your first coaching job, is first of all to coach the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, that comes with pressure all into itself. Then the first, team that he's assigned LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Okay, that comes with expectations. So clearly there's a learning curve that's needed. And JJ has done, I think he's done a really nice job in his first year of coaching. On top of that, they make a little trade, a small trade that changes his team. They trade Anthony Davis and then they bring in Luka Dončić. So he takes a job that he's never done before as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers franchise. Then he has to coach LeBron James, and now he has to coach LeBron James and Luka Dončić, and then manage the expectations of what that means of being a Lakers head coach. In coaching two of the very best players currently now in the NBA. One certainly is arguably is in the conversation as one of the best, greatest players of all time, right? So I think overall he's done a really, really nice job. The thing that I really respect about what JJ has done is he really put together a very nice staff.
Mm.
I thought his staff has been terrific, right? He's the head coach. Clearly, he makes the final call. But Nate McMillan and these guys that he has on his staff, he's put together an elite staff. And I think if there's anything we should take from what JJ has done is he's surrounded himself with very competent people to
Nate
help him.
McMillan, Scott Brooks, Bob Bayer,
Yeah.
Greg St. Jean, Lindsey Harding, and Bo Levesque,
Yeah, he's the
and
I
Michael
happen to
Waitzer.
know. Yeah, I know many of those guys personally, and they're really competent people when it comes to the NBA. So I think he's done an above average job, right? Clearly, out here in LA, we must hold him to the standard, which is a championship. Okay. I don't know if they're going to achieve that this year. I happen to probably be in the minority out here of saying when you look at this team, but overall, I'm impressed with the way he has conducted himself, the way he's handled the team, the way the team has actually played. I think they've with all of the changes and all of the things that have occurred this year, for him to have this team, where are they? They're like somewhere in the top six, right? They were
Oh,
number two,
they're four.
They're
They're
fourth right
four.
now.
They're
yeah,
four right now.
for I think that and give JJ credit, right? I give credit where credit is due. That's tough to come into this type of situation. So I really respect the job he has done, and you know what, and to see where it goes. But I couldn't anticipate if you would have told me at the beginning of the season they were going to be fourth. I mean, at one point they were like second in the conference.
Hmm. Hmm.
I wouldn't have said that, but I have to give him credit. And I like the way they play. I like the style that they play. I think the players seem like they enjoy playing for him. And it'd be interesting to see over the years how he kind of settles in. But I
Hmm.
think overall he's done a really good job, and he looks to be a good hire for the LA Lakers.
Couple points I want to add in real quickly. As a former coach, and then, when JJ got this job, and JJ obviously is someone I worked with when he was a player in Orlando. He was again, BJ expressed the enormity of the job he took on being the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most iconic sports franchises in the world. Give him credit for as not having any experience to go out and hire two former head coaches, guys who had been in that hot seat in Scott Brooks and Nate McMillan. Start there and then filling out the rest of his staff with very quality assistant coaches who like BJ mentioned, very knowledgeable about the NBA. So you always want to balance your staff and have people around you that can not only be, follow and loyal to you and your message, but also bring a difference and bring some strengths or experiences that you don't have that you are willing to weigh into. And as the head coach and CEO of that staff, you've got to be willing to give and take with that. And obviously, JJ has been doing that this season. So kudos to him for that. And one other thing that I look at is just when I watch teams, just how prepared teams are coming into game, game in and game out, and how teams execute coming in and out of timeouts, or make adjustments coming out at halftime, or like I said, coming in and out of timeouts, making those same adjustments. And the Lakers have done a very good and solid job of that. And that's where JJ is putting his handprint on this organization and on this basketball team. So be interesting to continue to watch him grow into this role. The unique thing about working for the Lakers, though, and BJ touched on this, is that his lens is always going to be about, did you bring a championship? I mean, that's his North Star. Whereas if you were coaching at some of the other organizations, your North Star in terms of the general public or fan base may it be that you're consistently making the playoffs, and that is displaying some excellence. Well, in Lakerland, it's about titles. So let's see how that whole thing wears, not only this season, but in seasons to come. I think that will be ultimately determinative in terms of just how well JJ is doing out there in Los Angeles. And I know that that's a lot of added pressure, but that's the reality of the situation. There are, a few organizations that have that standard, and he is at one of those, being the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that he's basically in his first year had to coach two different teams. The first team with Anthony Davis, you're looking to funnel the defense to Anthony Davis and play that style of basketball. And now with Luka Dončić, it's a completely different kind of persona of the team. With the Anthony Davis lineups this season with JJ Redick, the Lakers averaged 34 three-point attempts per game, which was fourth last in the NBA. But since the trade, the Lakers are averaging 42 three-pointers per game per 100 possessions, sorry, which is second highest in the entire NBA. So mid-season, this team has changed their entire offensive identity. With LeBron and AD, they command a lot of attention from the defense, but they don't draw doubles on the perimeter quite like a guy like Luka Dončić does, where they have to trap him to get the ball out of his hands.
No question.
Now adding Luka into this mix, they're able to generate a high volume of three-point shots in the way that the Cavaliers or the Celtics do. So they've changed the identity of their team, not only at the start of the season with a new coach, but mid-season, they've changed their offensive strategy as well. So with saying all of that, teams need time to gel and so on and so forth, but Luka is obviously a generational talent, and it's easy for guys to play alongside him on the offensive end. How serious are you taking these guys as contenders? Because you guys have both said it now. It's a championship is the standard they hold them to. How close or how far are they from looking like a team that can actually win the championship?
Let me just add one thing to the point you're making, Mo, because I believe, obviously, when they made this trade, and you talk about now the sizable increase in three-point attempts, I believe this is how JJ Redick always really wanted to play coming in the door anyway.
He's a three-point shooter.
And so by person, he was the three-point shooter. And he when you listen to his analysis a lot when he was working with ESPN, he talked about the math and the importance of the three-point shot. And so going and get a player like Luka Dončić, who shoots a much higher volume of three-point shots than did Anthony Davis, of course that number is going to go up. But to the heart of your question about how far do I think they can go, I think the Lakers can be definitely a formidable foe in this playoff race. I think the West is wide open, with the exception of OKC. Again, we're talking regular season basketball right now. OKC has clearly separated themselves as the top team in that conference, if not the league at large. And their next step is to perform and win 3 7-game series to make it to the finals, that being OKC. But you get 2 generational players, great players together, LeBron James, who BJ talked about earlier, who we all know will go down as one of the game's greatest players. Luka Dončić is in the midst of his Hall of Fame career right now. So anytime you can put 2 guys like that on the floor and play in a 7-game series, you're going to have a chance to win because you've got tons of experience. They're going to pose a lot of different defensive challenges for whoever they're playing against. My big question still will remain is their lack of size, to go all the way through the Western Conference. And I know the early returns since Luka has been there defensively, the Lakers were playing pretty well defensively before he got there. And then when he came on, it kind of continued in terms of the numbers. I think they were one of the top 10 defensive teams here as of late. But I'm still not all the way sold that they're going to be able to carry that defensive, I don't want to, mindset, but just defensive efficiency as a team throughout the playoffs. That's my biggest question. I'm not saying that they can't, but I got to see it. As if they can do that and then somehow make up for their lack of size, because there's only one center that they're playing, and that's Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, it's like they've got size at the other positions.
Right, but they just don't have size at the center position. But so what's going to happen? Obviously, LeBron is going to have to play a lot more inside as they move forward in the playoffs when rotations shorten up, and so that'll be interesting to see. For me, it'll be dependent upon who they match up against. Would I be shocked to see them make it to a conference final? The answer to that is no. I would not be shocked at that. They could do that. On the other end, would I be shocked if they had an earlier exit? I wouldn't be shocked at that either. So it'll be interesting to watch them, and I think we can dive into it deeper once the seedings are set and the first round matchups are made. Can really dive into how they're matching up with those, whoever they matched up with in the first round, and what their path looks like to get to the Western Conference Finals.
BJ, you talk very often on this show about roster construction. If you're looking at this Lakers roster right now, what do they need to add if they can't win a championship this season? What are the kind of weaknesses in their roster that need to be addressed? Because this is a team they put together mid-season, and they've obviously not had the chance to go and get all the signings they want or make all the moves that they want. But from a roster construction perspective, how are you looking at this Lakers squad?
Well, I think JJ is going to evolve and to figure out his style and his philosophy of how he wants to play. And at the beginning of the season, you guys mentioned it earlier, this was a LeBron James, he was the focal point as far as ball handling, distribution, so forth and so on. Now, all of a sudden, you have 2 players that are going to demand the ball. So I think JJ and their staff are going to have to figure out their philosophy, their brand of basketball, and what is that going to look like? LeBron James is at a moment in his career where he's probably not the same downhill player that he once was, where he could just overwhelm you with his athletic ability. He's probably going to have to play more of a power forward or small ball type of forward position at this stage. And they're going to have to figure out how to share the basketball, because both of those players, him and Luka, need the ball in their hands. So I think it's going to come to where they feel they can best find that balance that they're looking for, because they have two players that are capable of carrying the game. LeBron James, not as much as he once could, but Luka is still, entering into his prime. And I don't know what that looks like. If you ask me what this team should look like, I have no idea. Do they want to play fast? Do they want to be a big team? Do they want to be a team that executes in the half court? I don't know how they're really going to settle into using Luka Dončić, because he's clearly the future of the organization. However, you still have a LeBron James team, so that's going to come with the expectations. And I don't know, cap wise, I think probably Scott would be more equipped to answer that, is how you're going to build a team with the way the structure is currently, the salary structures. So they have a lot of things that they have to deal with. However, those are pretty good problems to have. If you have Luka Dončić and LeBron James, you start there. You would hope that many of the players that they currently have on their roster will develop from within. That's what you're hoping for. Because I don't know how many more years that you're going to have LeBron James playing at a very high level. He's coming off of an injury. And as you age, you tend to, there will be little things that will pop up. So if they can get, whether that's Austin Reeves or Jackson Hayes or what are those players, Rui Hachimura, to really emerge, I think that's probably will be their best case scenario. If not, you, in the words of, the Miami Heat, either you're competing for a championship or you're blowing it up. So I think will be at both of those extremes, depending on how things turn out for them during the course of the season, or in this case, as they head into the playoffs.